Hey everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hey everybody.
We have done our Patreon reward movie review, or we're doing the review right now. It's really late, so if I don't make any sense during this, it's because my brain's, and it's Friday morning basically, and I'm tired. But
And you have work in the morning.
yeah. So we watched our Patreon reward focused movie of the month. And by the way, if you would like to choose a movie for us, there are still spots available for that, so you can go to our Patreon and choose a movie for us to see next month if you want to. So anyway, so the one that we saw this month is It Follows, which is a movie that just came out this year, I think.
Follows what? What?
Yeah, real funny. We're not making that joke throughout this entire video. We're not doing it. I believe it came out this year. It was either this year or really late last year. But it's a horror movie, which I tend to not like. And I don't know. What did you think?
It's very creepy and atmospheric. It's good. I would tell you what it reminds me of, but I want you to talk more about it first. But I liked it reasonably well. There were some things I questioned, but we'll see.
Yeah, I generally liked it. Like I said, it's definitely not a movie that was made for me specifically because I don't like horror movies usually. I don't like movies that are super, super tense either, so like thrillers are really not my thing. I get, it's too anxious. And this movie is all about like being anxious and like bracing yourself. There are a few allegories in this for real things that women go through. One in particular.
I would describe what happened.
Alright, so It Follows is the story of a girl in a non-specific time. There is very little tech that would tell you that it was modern day, except for like one thing, like one little piece of tech that one of her friends has, which is essentially like it's supposed to be like a smartphone, but it doesn't work as a phone. And it's
some kind of small digital reader.
Yeah, it's like a Kindle. It's like a small Kindle or digital reader, and it's in the shape of like a clamshell, which I don't know. Maybe that's a metaphor, considering all the other sexual metaphors that are in this movie. But that's like the only tech in the movie that seems like modern tech, and the rest of it is like rotary phones. The cars are old. The clothing is vaguely 70s-esque. The way it's shot feels very much like a 70s slasher movie almost. Like there are definitely shots that feel like that. In general, like I said, lack of tech, so it's very strange. So anyway,
also, the colors are very muted and it's very dark.
And we'll get into it, but the atmosphere of this movie and the way it was directed and the cinematography is really interesting. I mean, it's one of the things that I did enjoy about it, even though, again, like the whole mood of the movie is something that really puts me off.
Tense and angst.
Yeah, the tense and anxiousness that's just filled in this movie really like it's not a movie that I would necessarily watch for fun especially not by myself, and I would not have gone to see this in theaters because that would have freaked me out, because it would have been getting to see it on the small screen and have my computer was a lot better. It didn't make me feel nearly as Anyway, alright, so we haven't got to the plot. So it's about this girl who I think they said was 19. I think the plot description on Amazon said that she was 19. But she's dating this guy. She's just kind of dating this guy and things are kind of going well. She doesn't know him that well, but she thinks she's gonna... I don't know if she's lost her virginity to him, or I think she does. I think they don't make a huge deal out of it, but it is kind of like where she talks about it maybe being her first time. Anyway, so she has sex with him, And immediately after, he what's the term for when you chloroforms her and ties her up and tells her, you are going to be followed by this thing, and you can't let it touch you. I gave this to you back in the car. I'm only tying you up right now to show you what it is, so you understand what it is. And she sees this like naked lady walking towards her, and then the guy takes her home. And so, if you haven't figured it out, essentially this movie's villain is a symbolism for an STD. That is basically what the spectral curse antagonist is. It is a curse, but it's a curse that you pass through with sex.
Through a sex. That's the way you pronounce that termage, right?
Yeah, sure, okay.
You said that.
And see, I said through sex.
No, you said through a sex.
I don't think you hear me. You're gonna have to edit this, so when you hear me not say it that way, then you'll feel really, really dumb.
Or maybe you'll be the one feeling dumb.
So anyway, it's an interesting concept, because the first thing I said was like, well, it's not real, because I knew about the whole STD thing before we saw the movie, but Mike didn't, and so I was like waiting for him to kind of put the pieces together, and I finally was just like, did you notice what, like, the thing that happened, like what this is clearly supposed to be for? The one thing I thought though when we first started watching was, well, this isn't really that good of an allegory for an STD, because it's not like you have sex with someone and suddenly your genital warts magically disappear and go on to the other person. You still have them, they just spread. And the way they get around it is, oh, well, yeah, you do get the thing doesn't try to attack you, but you're still gonna see it, and if the person you gave it to gets killed, then it's totally gonna start going after you again. So it's in your best interest to basically spread the disease, or spread the curse, and then try to give them the best shot at surviving, or else you're going to have to keep spreading it.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the movie is about her trying to figure out, first of all, like, trying to find the guy again, because she's like, okay, screw, once the thing starts following her, they're like, no, we need to find him, because he's going to actually explain this to me, because he only explained it when she was half drugged. And then just, like, drops her off in her underwear. Like, you didn't think to let her put on her clothes again, or something, or put her clothes back on, because even though the actual sex was consensual, you look like you just dumping her off in her underwear basically, like, puts you looking like a rapist.
So I think that's how they treat him at the start of the movie too, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. Like, the cops are very, like, I'm actually surprised that they didn't have more people doubting her or, like, treating her really shitty for having sex. In the context, technically, like, she gets punished for having sex by the concept of the entire film. So essentially, it's her sister, and their guy and girlfriend, like, just their friend, their childhood friends, and then their neighbor, all go out and try to find this guy who was living under a secret name in order to spread this thing. And it's them trying to figure out, okay, how can we stop this thing without actually passing it on, because I would prefer not to, one, because I would still have to deal with this if someone else has to do it, and two, I don't want to be the kind of person who lets that happen to someone else, because this was like a really shitty thing for someone to do.
Or feel responsible for someone's death.
Or feel responsible for someone's death. Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. It's still
a shitty thing to do to a person, even if they don't die.
Yeah, exactly, like to put the curse back on. So, I mean, the cool thing about this movie, I think, is the ambiance and the way that it's shot. The music is really weird. It, like I said, it reads like a 70s, early 80s slasher movie as far as, like, the weird choices that they make, which I didn't mind. I actually thought that was way more interesting than most, like, horror movies right now.
Now, I want to ask you, this movie reminded me of something. Did it remind you of any movie?
I'm trying to think of is it horror-related movie?
Yes, it's a horror-related movie.
Is it one that you know I've seen?
I don't know if you've seen this movie.
Like, I guess The Ring? Would The Ring be it?
That was the one that I actually thought of. Like, it's passed on, the Ring was passed on through a crappy VHS tape, and then you had to show it to people to actually get the ring lady to stop chasing you.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are some aspects to it. I like
that are similar. This is a much better version of, like, because The Ring is completely stupid, but it's still okay.
I mean, the thing about The Ring too is that, like, oh, she can pop out and get you at any time. You just have to be looking at the TV or whatever. Whereas with this, the stakes are actually way more like a zombie movie, as far as whatever it is, which they keep it very vague. But it can only walk. So one, you have a good sense of who it could be. It's not like it's someone, oh, I'm trying to trick you into pretending like I'm you, or like I'm your friend, and then I will kill you. Like, it can't talk. It can't move in a really super, like, in a particularly natural, casual way. It almost hulks a little bit. Not entirely. Some of them walk a little bit like more normally, but the whole premise, and generally they have, like, either they're slightly nude or all nude, or they have like blacked out eyes.
I thought it was explained that they're also the ones that are the former dead.
Maybe.
Like, it's the ones that it's killed. That's the feeling I was getting from it, because I thought I saw one of the ones be a character from earlier in the movie.
Yeah, but I thought it was just, like, one of the things that the guy who gave it to her said was I think that they do that just to torture you. Mm-hmm. Like, the people, because a lot of them are people that she knows too. You know, you realize that, right? Okay. Like, some of the people who grabbed the ones, or it, when it was at the beach house. Okay. I believe was like her other friends, like the girl with the dark hair, and the one guy that liked her. Okay. But yeah, they say it can look like one of your friends. So I'm trying to think what else. So I will say that one of the movie's big successes is in the opening scene, because it's essentially the girl that was supposed to be the one guy's like safety net before she got killed. So you see, essentially, you don't get any information. You don't get, like, there's no exposition. It's all just seeing this girl, like, run out into the street terrified, and no one seeing what she sees, and then running away, and like, essentially telling her dad goodbye on the phone. Oh yeah, so she had a cell phone too. See, this movie is weird, because, like, two people had cell phones, but then, like, they don't use them at any other times. It's weird. So, sorry, I'm trying to think. So, and then the girl ends up dead, and that was like the beginning of the movie. And it's a really nice setup. It's almost Jaws-esque as far as the setup of like this one victim and seeing this victim's last
day
or a few hours, you know, and not giving any real setup beyond that, and then seeing her die actually on the beach. So I'm pretty sure that was intentionally supposed to be kind of like a little bit of an homage to Jaws. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, like, it's really interestingly shot. I do think that there are some things where they try to like trick you into thinking that a shot is important, and then it's just like a shot for mood, and that was kind of annoying. And maybe that was intentional, like, oh, you're looking out, you're trying to keep an eye out for something to happen or for it to walk into frame, and we won't do that, and you're gonna have to be on your toes because we're not gonna give you easy reveals, you know. So yeah, I did like it, but there were a few things here and there that just
Want to get into spoilers?
I mean, I guess we're already in the middle.
Okay, we'll just say we're starting spoilers.
Okay. So spoilers. Sorry, it is really late, so this is very much a Katie and Mike trying to unravel this movie while we're also fairly tired.
One of the things I don't get about this movie is they don't really explain, like, once you pass it on to someone, does that mean that you can't pass it on to anyone else you have sex with until it comes back to you? Or, you know, like basically once you have sex, do you, like, is it now spread every time with every person you have sex with? Or is it something that you just have pass on once and then hopefully that person survives?
I mean, I guess the thing is that the guy that gave it to her doesn't know. You know what I mean?
I guess he doesn't, but I mean, like...
Which would make sense why you see that house that he was holed up in, and it was like, it was like you saw those magazines and like the crumpled up tissue, so obviously like he didn't feel like he could have sex regularly besides when he was passing it on. My guess is that it was just the one time, because he seemed really chill with her before, and it was only when he started seeing the thing again that he got nervous. So I just assumed that he knew that the girl before her died and that he would need to
pass it on again.
Because, like, if he was really trying to just get with as many girls as possible so he had the best chance to do it, one, I feel like he would have like advised her to do that already, like to do that for herself, like just have sex with a lot of people, that way you have your bases covered. And also, like, he would have tried to have sex with her earlier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting it. So, as far as the spoilers go, I mean, the draining thing about this movie is that you kind of know how it's got to end, unless they did a Deus Ex Machina and decided to just completely let her win.
Well, there's only a few ways that you could end it. You could do the Ring way and then let
someone else get passed on, which is basically what they do.
But then the Ring way is also that she's released from the curse.
Yeah. Which isn't the case here. Like, you don't get released, you just hope that enough people down the line so that you don't have to worry about it. Which is kind of sad. Also, the fact that, like, that's the thing, I don't know if, I have the feeling that, like, yeah, he can still see, I think the whole point is that when it starts following you again, you know that you're in danger. But if you happen to be near someone who happens to have it, the curse, then
you can see their followers.
You can see theirs, but you aren't necessarily getting followed all the time. But the thing is that if you keep your guard down and enough people hadn't, So, alright, so yeah, there are a few ways that this could have ended, obviously. She could have died. She could have made the choice to pass it on, or the Deus Ex Machina of choosing to or finding a way to fight it and defeat it, which is what they try to do. Actually, they try a couple of things. They try to run from it for a little bit. Obviously, that's not going to work, but they were at least trying to get their mind off of it. And I will say again this much: when you're driving in the car in this movie, it can't apparate into your car and kill you. It has to follow you.
It's restricted by the planes of objects. The object.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that that her friends end up believing her. They at least have a sense that something's going on, and it's not just her.
I think you hit it really well on the head when you said, zombie following.
Yeah,
it's sort of classic old school slow crawl zombie.
Yeah, it's a little bit faster than that, but yeah, it's not actually crawling. But one of the things they did do, though, is that while it's invisible to everyone else, it does have some kind of corporeal form. So you see it actually pulling on the girl's hair. It actually claws at one of the other guys. So they have evidence that it's definitely happened, that something's after her. So it's not like her saying, "You've got to believe me," and no one believing her the entire movie, which would have been. Look, I get that it's an allegory for
rape
and sexual disease and coercion and stuff like
stalkers.
that. Yeah, and that was the other thing. It's I think that there was supposed to be that allegory for stalkers, because she always is keeping her eye out. She never knows what, she can never feel like she can live normally. I also think there's a lot of unexplained stuff, which I don't mind necessarily in this, because over explaining stuff is when you get into really annoying horror movies. But I do wonder if there was something to do with the water, because at one point it is water is dripping from it.
Yeah, and if you notice, when the boyfriend guy, not really boyfriend guy,
but the
other guy died, it looked like he drowned.
Yeah, and there was the whole thing with the water. There were, and that was the thing. There were a few scenes in here. We're kind of jumping around.
There's a lot about water in this movie, because our first scene with her is in her pool, and
one girl dies by the beach, and she goes to the beach to think.
She also goes for that swim towards the end. Yeah,
she goes for a swim, and that's the thing. You see a boat, and you think they make a point of her getting into the water, but then they never explain the importance of that. And so I don't know if it's just a mood scene where she was trying to clear her head. I guess that's okay, but the way that it was framed made it seem like it's an important plot moment, and so we were left with going what the hell.
What I think was going to go on was that she decided that she was going to go out to that boat and have sex with those guys and pass it on. And I think that she got there and then couldn't do it.
Yeah, but they don't show it.
They didn't show any of that. And but that's at first I thought she went out to the boat, had sex with the guys, passed it on, and then that was going to be the end of it. But then the next scene with her is she's still sort of downtrodden and sort of
Yeah, there's also a part where the pool was drained, and I don't don't know if that was supposed to be it that did it, because they make a whole thing about the showdown, their final try to stop it was they go to the old pool. They break into this old pool they used to go to, and they try to basically electrocute it by having it follow her into the water, and instead it starts to actually pick up the appliances and throw it at her and try to kill her that way. But like you get the sense that it wasn't good with water. And then there was like the red, like the blood in the water, but they never explained it. And like, it's okay to keep some things ambiguous, but that just feels like mistakes, which is kind of it's just a problem in a movie like this, where you're keeping an eye out for clues, and then there's some things that are just like ambiance and like aesthetic stuff.
You're expecting a little bit more of the mystery to be solved than what you're getting.
You're expecting some clues left by the director to give you some idea, and so when some of it just feels like eerie moments, it's kind of annoying. And that there are a few moments in here where I'm just like, I'm not saying you have to flat out say what it is, but if you're gonna have like a weird thing like that in your movie, then it should actually mean something, or else it's just gonna like, I don't know what you're trying to say between like what you're actually trying to tell the audience and what you're just trying to make them like just an atmosphere thing. So the other thing that kind of bugged me about this movie, so they do try to have one of the guys pass it on, and he's like the neighbor, and he's kind of handsome and kind of a little charming, and so they have sex, and he gets killed, but he's like, yeah, I haven't seen anything, and then it's like on the fourth day or something, someone who I think maybe even looks like him breaks in, but I could be wrong. I don't know if that was supposed to look like him or not, but it ends up turning into the guy's mom, which is more than a little unnerving because she just has one breast out, which seems to be like the pattern for the women that it turns into. Not all the time, but often, is like disheveled, one breast revealed, like kind of bleeding and stuff. But yeah, so he dies, and it's the only time we see it actually kill someone on screen, and it is very sexual in nature. But the thing that kind of bugged me about it is that they totally set up the guy friend, who is just like this kind of tiny teenager guy. Essentially, he's clearly had a crush on her for forever, and he wants to protect her. And then they kind of start dating at the end, or like he ends up having sex with her, but then passing it on to some sex workers, and then that's kind of the end of the movie, because they couldn't figure out, the characters couldn't figure out what to do. So they essentially give in and play the game. Again, like my thing is just the whole nerdy kind of awkward guy getting the girl that he's had a crush on trope is, I get kind of bored with it. And so when that happened, I was just kind of like, oh.
It's a kind of boring trope.
It's very boring, and I don't know. That just kind of the ending. It's not. I knew that the ending was probably going to be unsatisfying by the nature of the story, but it still was kind of like, oh, well, there you go. Also, I am actually very surprised that the guy did not suggest having, that the guy that cursed her didn't try to have sex with prostitutes. Since
maybe he did?
Maybe, but it just seems to me that the best way to get two away from you and the curse is to have someone whose job is to have sex with people.
True, but what if they don't? What if it's not their day job?
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about it. If you like scary movies, I mean, obviously we kind of just spoiled it for you, so sorry.
Well, we warned spoilers.
We did warn spoilers. If you like scary movies, I think this one's actually, like I said, it's well done, and I think a lot of people will dig it. Oh, it's great, hun. I think a lot of people, if you haven't seen it, I think if you like kind of eerie off movies, you'll like it. The female characters are actually done pretty well in this. I can't think of anything that is inherently, like, you're supposed to be kind of grossed out by the guy who uses her. You're supposed to relate to this character. I'm not saying she's super interesting, but she's also not framed as like this virgin that got taken advantage of necessarily, but she's also not framed as like, I don't know, like she and the other female characters, even though the other female characters don't get that much personality necessarily, but like in general they're treated relatively well by the script. They're given enough focus, I think, for this. And you do really empathize with her, because that's a horrific thing to have to go through. And again, I think the tone of it and the way that they set up this monster of sorts was really interesting. And so if you like scary movies, I think you will dig it. If you were like me, if you're really interested in it, keep the lights on, and maybe have something to distract you from the really, really tense moments. You got anything else to say, hun? Because I'm about ready to crash.
The only thing I want to say is I just miss Cabin in the Woods. That's what I want to watch right now after watching this movie. And I want to see those little Japanese girls defeat the evil spirit. And
yeah, but then you forget what happened, because like they were part of the world that gets spoilers for Cabin in the Woods if you haven't seen it yet. But yes, those little girls get to live for about 2 hours more compared to what they would have if
I love that movie's commentary. Watch that movie with commentary.
I do like that movie a lot. I know a lot of people gave it crap for being too overly knocking you over the head with stuff, but I like that movie a lot. And like I said, I thought this was a really, like, as far as execution of concept, I thought this was really well done. It doesn't feel like a copy, even though it does pull from other movies and from the genre in general. It doesn't feel like it was just copying some other really successful movie, which is something that you really don't, you know what I mean? You don't want to watch a movie where it's like The Gallows, which I heard was horrible, but which is essentially the same found footage movie that you've seen a billion times, you know?
Yeah, this one isn't found footage.
This is not found footage, which I liked. Oh, it was actually shot really nicely.
Yeah, you said it yourself, it was shot like a 70s sort of horror film.
Yeah, there was a lot of like slow pans and panoramic views, a lot of slow movements. And like I said, like that opening scene was done really well. Like if you I would definitely say check it out, at least for that opening scene, because it was just like it was all not energy, what's the word I'm thinking of, like atmosphere. And so unless
there's also a few really great shots that were like single camera shots, like the one time where she's running from the beach and she runs across the field and then she hops in the guy's car and leaves her friends behind. That was almost like a single one cam shot.
I also like the fact that there was a bit there where they're sitting on the beach and the music cue doesn't cut in yet, but you see her and you see someone in the back slightly walking. And like you're 99% sure that that is supposed to be it. But then you have on the next shot you start counting you start checking the girls that are there because it turned into a girl. I think it was supposed to be her friend, by the way, because they make a point of saying it can sometimes be your friend even though it's clearly the thing it walking. But yeah, so like the music cue doesn't cut in until like I think 2 or 3 shots back to her later. So like it's one of those things where you as an audience member are pretty sure, and you're so used to as an audience member the movie giving you those cues to be afraid. So when it does those cues when it isn't around, or it doesn't do those cues right when it shows up, it makes you have to think about, like you are tense because you have to pay attention just like the main character does. So that was interesting. So yeah, like I said, if you are a horror movie fan, I think it is definitely worth a watch. If you are not a horror movie fan, you might not want to watch this movie, but that's simply because it's scary. We're gonna go get shakes, and I think we're going to crash in bed because I'm tired. So I will see you guys later. Katie, Mike, justplainsomething.com, and we'll see you later.